Good evening. My name is Asta Balkute, and I'm calling you from Vilnius, Lithuania. I'm the upper school principal at Vilnius International School, and tonight I'm going to share with you one of my favorite books called Weslandia. Have you ever visited Weslandia? If not, I'll take you up on a journey and we'll visit it together right now. Before we start, in the first pages, there are quite a few interesting symbols. I wonder what they mean. I guess we'll find out in the book. Get started. Of course he's miserable, moaned Wesley's mother. He sticks out. Like a nose, snapped his father. Listening through the heating vent, Wesley knew they were right. He was an outcast from the civilization around him. He alone in his town disliked pizza and soda, alarming his mother and the school nurse. He found professional football stupid. He refused to shave half of his head, the hairstyle worn by all the other boys, despite his father's bribe of $5. Let's take a look at Wesley's room. It's full of all kinds of things. Getting into his room is an adventure as well. Passing his neighborhood's two styles of housing, garage on the left and garage on the right, Wesley alone dreamed of more exciting forms of shelter. He had no friends, but plenty of tormentors, and fleeing them was the only sport he was good at. Oh, that sounds very scary and sad and lonely, right? Nobody wants to feel that way. Each afternoon, his mother asked him what he'd learned in school that day. That seeds are carried great distances by the wind, he answered on Wednesday. Did you know that? That each civilization has its staple food crop, he answered on Thursday. That school is over, and I should find a good summer project, he answered on Friday. As always, his father mumbled, I'm sure you'll use that knowledge often. And suddenly, Wesley's thoughts shot sparks. His eyes blazed. His father was right. He can actually use what he'd learned that week for the summer project that would top all the others. He would grow his own staple food crop and found his own civilization. Wow. The next morning, he turned over a plot of ground in his yard. That night, a wind blew in from the west. It raced through the trees and set his curtains snapping. Wesley lay awake. Listen. His land was being planted. It was being planted. I wonder, what was it planted with? 5 days later, the first seedlings appeared. You'll have almighty bedlam on your hands if you don't get those weeds out, warned his neighbor. Actually, that is my crop, replied Wesley. In this type of garden, there are no weeds. Following Asian tradition, Wesley's fellow gardeners grew tomatoes, beans, Brussels sprouts, and nothing else. Wesley found it thrilling to open his land to chance, to invite the new and the unknown. Those look interesting. Wow, look how big they grew. The plants shot up past his knees, then his waist. They seemed to be all the same sort, and Wesley couldn't find them in any plant book. His neighbor says, are those tomatoes, beans, or Brussels sprouts? None of the above, replied Wesley. What do they look like? What do these plants remind you of? Maybe tulips? Some kind of flower? How do you make crop out of the flower? Let's see what next happens. Food appeared yellow at first, then blushing to magenta. Wesley picked one and sliced through the rind to the juicy purple center. He took a bite and found the taste an entrancing blend of peach, strawberry, pumpkin pie, and flavors he had no name for. But that sounds delicious, doesn't it? Ignoring the shelf of cereals in the kitchen, Wesley took the breakfasting on the fruit. He dried half of the rind to serve as a cup, built his own squeezing device, and drank the fruit's juice throughout the day. Wow, look at that squeezing device. That's engineering right there. Pulling up a plant, he found large tubbers on the roots. These he boiled, fried, or roasted on the family barbecue, seasoning them with a pinch of the plant's highly aromatic leaves. It was hot tending to his crop. To keep off the sun, Wesley wove himself a hat from strips of the plant's woody bark. His success with the hat inspired him to devise a spinning wheel and loom on which he wove a loose-fitting robe from the stalk's soft inner fibers. Unlike jeans, he found scratchy and heavy, the robe was comfortable, reflected the sun, and offered myriad opportunities for pockets. Wow, he's very resourceful. His schoolmates were scornful, then curious. Grudgingly, Wesley allowed them 10 minutes apiece at his mortar, crushing the plant seeds to collect the oil. This oil had a tangy scent and served him both as suntan lotion and mosquito repellent. He rubbed it on his face each morning and sold small amounts to his former tormentors at the price of $10 a bottle. Wow, now he has his own business. What's happened to your watch? Asked his mother one day. Wesley admitted that he no longer wore it. He told time by the stop that he used as a sundial and had divided the day into 8 segments, the number of petals on the plant's flower. Is it really 8 petals? Let's check it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Interesting. Well, this one had 6, but these one have 8. So not all flowers had 8 petals. I wonder how he distinguished between the 6 and 8. How did he choose that one? He'd adopted a new counting system as well, based likewise upon the number 8. His domain home to many such innovations he named Weslandia. That's where the name of the book comes from. Uninterested in traditional sports, Wesley made up his own. These were designed for a single player and used many different parts of the plant. His spectators looked on with envy. I bet they wanted to join in. Realizing that more players would offer him more scope, Wesley invented other games that would include his schoolmates, games rich with strategy and complex scoring systems. He tried to be patient with the other players' wonders. Look at this. What does this look like? Does it look like a few sports that you guys play? August was unusually hot. Wesley built himself a platform and took sleeping in the middle of Weslandia. He passed the evenings playing flute, he'd fashion from a stalk, or gazing up at the sky, renaming constellations. Look at him, just enjoying himself during the night, looking at the stars. And there's Owl too. He found a buddy. His parents noted Wesley's improved morale. "It's the first time in years he'd look happy," said his mother. Wesley gave them the tour of Weslandia. "What did you call this plant?" asked his father. Not knowing its name, Wesley had begun calling it Swist, from the sound of its leaves rustling in the breeze. In like manner, he'd named his new fabrics, games, and foods until he created an entire language. Wow! Entire language, too. Mixing the plant's oil with soot, Wesley made a passable ink. As the finale of his summer project, he used the ink and his own 80-letter alphabet to record the history of his civilization's foundings. There he is recording it. Wow, how impressive that is. Right? I bet that those signs that we saw at the beginning of the book are the alphabet. Right? In September, Wesley returned to school. And he had no shortage of friends. You see that? Wow. So, Weslandia. I wonder, what will you create this summer? What will be your project in this summer? I wish you a great summer, and thank you for listening in. And I wish you good night, and I send you best wishes from Vilnius, Lithuania. Good night. Bye-bye. Hail Purdue!